Howdy folks, it's Zach, and welcome back to my Star Wars Tips and Tricks section, and another episode of Real Talk with Real Gamers, a no-bullshit experience where we get the good, the bad, and the ugly about SWTOR, Star Wars The Old Republic. And with me, as always, is my two faithful co-hosts, Penny and Xenop. How you guys doing tonight?
Hey guys,
hey, what's
wonderful
going on?
to be back.
Hey, so obviously, guys, you guys have had a lot of questions coming up, and on our previous few shows, we talked a little bit about CXP. We also talked, oh god, what was our last episode about? I was sick. I was kind of sick for that one. But anyway, needless to say, you guys asked a lot of really great questions, and we want to kind of address some of those. Plus, on February 26th, Eric Musco tweeted on the SWTOR Twitter that 100 new command ranks were coming in for SWTOR, and that had such a blast back. The very next day on the 27th, they updated their forum post to have information saying that they would update all the player base off the forums with what that actually would entail and what they were actually going to do to change CXP. So, early this morning, I woke up and turned on my computer, and lo and behold, there are the announcements. And I figured there was such big layers to that announcement that we had to do a show tonight and talk about some of these changes. So first and foremost, I think it's important for the viewers, and you guys, feel free to disagree with me, but I think we've been told many times on the show that a lot of players don't feel like the devs listen. Would that be accurate?
I think as a dev, your hands are sort of tied based on, like the overhead. Mm-hmm. I feel like, yes, while they do listen and while they do read the forums and they understand the complaints, at some point you have to understand there's only so much they can do in comparison to the overhead. Yeah. Who is their boss? And even if they present these ideas, that can be vetoed. That can be like just completely thrown off the table. No, that's not what I want. We're not doing it. And I think that's kind of sort of what happened. Like, I think they wanted to make big changes, and I feel like they maybe kind of rushed it a little bit, and I don't think that the devs were able to convince maybe the overhead that maybe these changes are a little bit too drastic, in my opinion.
I like using my prime example whenever anybody's like, "Oh, we don't trust the devs." I'm like,
"Yeah,
okay." So when Battlefield 4 first came out, it was an absolute train wreck.
Oh yeah,
and EA sort of pigeonholed DICE and was like, "You've got to get it out by this date. Make it happen." And now I'm not saying that that's all that's going on, but I think BioWare might slightly be getting the short end of the stick from EA.
Yeah.
At least that's how I can see it, because now, as we'll talk about in a little bit, we're getting some really good changes. So, if that's what's happening, then they've got no control over anything. Like I said, their hands are tied. So, EA is like, they might be like, guys, they don't like this. We're losing more people. They don't like these. Do something different. And EA could be sitting there, like, just pointing the finger and be like, no, you're going to do this, and you're going to like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I said something similar. I did a quick solo post on this earlier in the week, and people at the top of corporations, they only see things in two colors, black and red. Is our company in the black? Is our company in the red? And I think a lot of times players misunderstand like the devs' role in everything. They develop things for Star Wars, but they're also the player's advocate back up the food chain of BioWare and EA. And now there's somebody out there listening right now just going like, Zach's kissing the butts of all the people at EA!
Right.
Oh my gosh, he totally sold out! I'm like,
I mean,
I can
no
guarantee
offense.
the word fanboy is floating.
Yeah.
Possibly, but no offense, if this is considered like brown-nosing, did they listen to where we tore apart like the new expansion?
Exactly.
Because if we were getting like anything flaunted at us to do this, which we are not, by the way, we are not sponsored or anything, we just enjoy SWTOR, I feel like it would even have ended with that. Like,
that would have been it. That would have been it. And if you guys are getting paid, I am sorely left out of that loop.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
My favorite argument is always to these people is always this is their. Most people that get into video games and game development, it's their passion. It's what they really enjoy doing for the most part. I know there's some that aren't, but why are they going to make it? I lost my words.
It's okay. Let me bring it all the way.
Why are they going to sort of take it in a bad direction and try and as some people like to say, you're leading players away. You're deterring players.
Oh, yeah.
Why would they do that? This is their living, and they're trying to make money off this. Like you said, it's a business.
Yeah.
Yes, so they have to make a living at it. So their best interest is to do what's going to make the game popular, what's going to make the game good.
Right.
And what makes the game good? What the community thinks will make the game good.
Right.
Without quote-unquote breaking it.
Right.
The issue comes in when corporate America sticks its hand in and stirs the shit pot.
Right. All right. So let me bring it back around. So my point to my viewers, guys, is the announcement that just came out this morning. The first thing out of the gate from Eric Musco was, "Hey, I know we said all this stuff about another 100 ranks for Tier 4. We're not doing it." Okay. And the thing I want to mention about that is that. A reactionary. It's easy to just get a really angry about whatever announcements come out from EA, but the more constructive the feedback that comes, and the more we post these things on the forums, the more it gets listened to, and this got listened to. And so a lot of times when people say, "I don't think the devs actually listen to us," I tend to pull examples out of this is an easy example to forget about, but I want to highlight it really quick and say, like, no, guys, they really do, and you guys spoke. And they listen. You said we don't really want 100 new command ranks, and we don't understand why there needs to be another one for Tier 4. And they said, okay, you know what? You're right. We did it because of this step, which is the same one I mentioned in my earlier show this week, which is that we had 100 ranks for every tier. We're going to add in another one, but you know what? You're right. So here's the first major change, guys, for CXP. If you guys haven't seen the announcement yet, is that they're not going to do another 100 ranks. Tier 4 starts dropping as soon as you hit rank 300 with CXP. However, there's something bigger than that announcement. So with Tier 4, they're also making some new changes to it. But I think it's really important that this is the point we mention, that they're also bringing back like loot drops from every operations boss throughout every mode, story mode all the way up through master. And I think this is probably the bigger of the announcements. It came all the way at the end of everything that Musco said, because first they started with CXP, and then they talked about how the different ranks between 4 and how the gear works there, and then how the RNG will be affected in ranks 1 through 3. But then the big thing they dropped was, hey, operations bosses are dropping gear again. And I really actually want to spend more time talking about that for some really specific reasons. Now, Penny and Xenoff, you guys are, I consider you guys like A++, S rank, like elite raiders. I don't know how else to put it. What does this mean for you guys?
Honestly, for any raider, even if they just want to be like a casual hard mode raider, the announcement that loot will no longer be RNG based, but instead will be a set drop system for bosses, in my opinion, is how it always should have been. Because you also gave the casual players a way to get gear, and so keeping the way that the gear was prior would have been smart from the beginning. But live and learn, they fixed it. Yeah. But personally, I like it because I mean, I'm not really like a log on and do heroics kind of person. Yeah. I log on to raid. I log on to do hard flashpoints or even, the hard uprisings. They're not unpleasant by any means. And I'll admit I still haven't done the story because I just don't have the time yet. Yeah. And I will eventually play through the story, but it's not a priority for me. Yeah. So I am pleased. Like, I mean, I am excited. I am pleased. This, in my opinion, is a good thing.
Right. How about you, Zen?
I mean, I like playing. On one hand, you got to look at it as, you guys could have left it this way from the start and done sort of the token thing, and with the CXP tokens and the crates and all of that. But at the same time, in their defense, they're like, all right, let's try something new. And then they're like, oh god, what did we do? Yeah. And they fixed it. Yeah. So, cool, they fixed it.
Yeah. And I have a pretty hard theory about that, which is, having worked in the corporate environment before, I can't speak this. I don't work for BioWare. I don't work in their offices, but I know what it feels like to have something implemented from the top of the company through the company saying like, hey, we need to make these kinds of changes. And I've seen it happen where I used to work in insurance, and they said, okay, we're going to change policies to be this kind of model. And the clients all said, what are you doing? We hate that. Like, we like this thing in the old system. And, and that feedback blasted back, and we had to change the policies back the way they were. And I feel like CXP, and you guys can feel free to jump in on this a little bit, but what we really have now, I feel, is it's like two train tracks. Okay, and you could be on either one, but both train tracks have that slat of wood that connects the two.
Right.
And I feel like that's what we have now.
Eventually.
Yeah, where it's like we have CXP and we have, or hardcore rating, and either one gets you gear. The cool thing is you can pick to be on one, the other, or both, and with no penalties. There's no reason not to do it. In fact, if you just raid, you earn up CXP points naturally, and you get whatever rewards from CXP. If you do CXP, you'll get the gear that eventually you would get raiding. Hopefully.
Right. Yeah. And the only I'm really don't get me wrong. Yeah. I am so happy they are doing this. I truly am. But by the same token, I have to make the argument I've made before. They watched this exact same thing happen in 4.0 with 224 gear.
Yeah.
This is almost as if, why even bother trying it again? A year time frame isn't going to change people's opinions. If it's pardon my language, if it's a shit system, it's a shit system. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
Now, I will say they
RNG
haven't
should
brought
not
back
be here.
highlighted hard modes.
No.
So that's good. I don't feel like that should be necessary, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
all right.
on the same vein, though, as long as we're on the topic of gearing in ops and gearing in general, for what it's looking like in 5.2 when it drops for tiers 1 to 3, Legendary gear had a very, very, very low drop rate.
Yeah.
Apparently what they're doing is green gear, and this is directly quoted from the dev post, green gear will no longer drop from tiers 1 to 3. Everything else has an equal chance to drop, from blue, purple, and gold. Everything has an equal chance.
Well, from the post, this is kind of the tricky thing, is RNG didn't really leave CXP, because tiers 1 through 3, and this is the change to tiers 1 through 3, is you'll still get premium drops in the core CXP system. I'm not talking raids now for a sec.
Timed out.
Dope. I think we just lost power.
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay, I'm just gonna... So, Xenoff, I think with the system 1 through 3, what they changed was the RNG drop rate. So if you're at level 1 of tier 1, you have a really high probability of getting greens, but as you move up the tier, up closer to rank 100 of that tier, it inverts. So premiums, you see those
exactly
less,
right.
and legendaries. Okay. So
I'm dumb, don't quote me. Tier 4 is what I'm talking about. Tier 4 does not drop any greens, though.
Right.
That I can confirm. That is true.
Yeah, and Tier 4 has, the blue prototype gear has set bonuses to it, which is kind of cool. So at the core, guys, it doesn't take away the RNG issue, which is that even if you have a 75% chance of getting something good, you're still spinning the dice or spinning the wheel or rolling, or I'm mixing my metaphors. You still have a 25% chance you could still land on that 25% slice of the pie and still not get anything good. It's just your odds are improved. It's one of those things. I'm not really wild about RNG, but that's why the counterpoint that I can immediately pull out of my hip pocket is, well, if you really need a particular piece of gear, you can just go to a raid and get it. That's kind of the nice thing now, and you have 4 chances for every one of the different slots. So if you need an earpiece, there's 4 different places you can go to get it. That so even if there's one raid out there you don't like tackling, there's 3 others that you can have the possibility for. So I feel like CXP overall. I think it's like they mashed 2 systems together now, and it's a little bit of the best of both worlds. If there's a flaw, I don't know. Can you guys help me see it? Do you guys see anything inherently jumping off the page that you're like, don't like that?
To be honest, not really. My biggest concern was the fact they were going to add 100 new command ranks. When, if I had to bet money on it, people just now are starting to hit rank 300 due to the event bonus. And just brainstorming, that's probably why they did the event. Okay, let's give them this event. Let's give the people that want to power through it the chance to power through it.
Yeah.
And then we'll implement this change, and the people that powered through it can immediately jump into the new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I kind of feel like that right now too. If you guys are playing this event right now, I would say use it for leveling up your characters. And if you want to grind CXP and you don't have a current raid group, and that's been your plan, I'd say okay, go ahead and stick with it. But keep in mind, once 5.2 drops, the loot table's already out. You can start mapping out right now how to get the tier of gear you're looking for. By just doing story modes, and you can get a basic set together. So I would say, and there's one other thing about 5.2 that I think is really interesting. So the tier 2 legendary gear drops in story mode once 5.2 hits. So it's almost better to wait to 5.2 and then do your story modes, because you'll get one, right now I'm at command rank 5. I mean, it's something ridiculously low. And and for me, guys, that's what jumped off the page at me. It's oh Jesus, I don't really want to grind through CXP. And then all of a sudden this landed, and I'm like, woohoo! 5.2 comes out. I can just jump in with my raiding buddies and get I would basically have to hit rank 100 before I even started approaching that gear in the current system, and I can get that from story mode now. And that to me is just awesome. And so, again, it's that big thing of rewarding if you're a hardcore player with a really good team.
Right.
You basically get to bypass 100 ranks. I mean, those 100 ranks, the ranks really don't mean as much as they did if you have a raid team to help you get that gear.
Right.
That gear is what you're looking for.
Exactly, and that's one of the things I really am going to like is the fact you can, with raid teams, sometimes people have to drop, and you have to find new people, and they don't have the gear
or you
for
have
the
to
content
rotate tunes.
Like,
people have to switch roles.
For example, we're about to go into EC Nightmare, and I have to run a Juggernaut. Fun fact, I'm normally a Marauder. So this update's going to be really nice, because it'll make gearing subs or gearing new people not very, but a lot less painful than before.
For sure.
I
mean, it's still not as easy. I have to see what the drops look like, because I think you're just getting tokens, correct? From the announcement. So you can use that token for your character. You might be able to pick something that would be used for, say, another one of your alts, and legacy gear it over, I think, still. So technically, it's still... It should be workable. It should be workable. It used to be... so kind of easy to gear up alts after a while, because we were just grinding.
Right.
And now it feels okay, comfortably so. We still don't have any token gear, not token gear. Command, not comms. Comms is what I was thinking of. Data crystals, command.
Starter gear, quote unquote.
We don't really have any non-prototype, non-set bonus, optimized.
No gear that you can just buy, because you're getting, before the reward system was you do dailies and everything and you get the gear. It's sort of the same system, except before you could just hoard all your crystals or tokens and then go and turn them into gear. It might not be set bonus, but it was still an upgrade from whatever you had from the last time you upgraded from leveling.
Exactly.
And now it's literally, it's just you grind your CXP.
Yeah.
To me, it's not terribly different. I hated the grind of collecting ultimate comms. That was so stupid. I'm pretty sure I bitched to Zen off about it. And then it got to the point where when I started raiding and started doing it on a weekly, I was I am getting the notification that I have too many ultimate comms and too many elite comms. And so you would go and you'd buy DMCs or buy isotopes or whatever was the hot selling thing that you could pay comms for, and you would sell it. A lot of people just went and bought the trash gear, waited for it to bind, and then just sold it for credits, because you would get anywhere between 12k to 30k depending on what piece it was.
Right. And so I still kind of feel I kind of stick by it. I feel like this is the better system. It's something a little bit for everybody. And when the devs would say hey, we're not getting rid of CXP, I feel now, okay, that works out. CXP is kind of, if you're a raider, it's the icing on the cake. If you are a grinder and you just casually playing, or you just running flashpoints or Galactic Starfighter, whatever it is you want to do, you'll still get gear, and you can still plan to do, say, stuff like story modes, and possibly get really good gear too. It's there's no limiting. I'm not seeing as much of a limiting factor anymore to gearing up, which was the big problem with CXP. When it could only come through the command crates, then that was kind of an issue. And now it's no, actually, it shouldn't be that bad anymore. Okay, and then my tip to my viewers, guys, your main hands, they're at Revan, Temple of Sacrifice, Styrax, Scum and Villainy, Cortani Ravagers, get good. That's where your main hand is. Those aren't necessarily easy fights at tougher levels. So
no, they're not. It takes coordination.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. It takes coordination, and you might not be perfect at it the first time you do it, but that doesn't mean you should give up. If you're willing to learn, then some people are willing to teach.
Exactly. All right, so this brings us into a really good spot for some of the questions that have come in. So, guys, in our last episode, we asked you guys to start giving us questions, and boy, you guys gave us some doozies. You also gave us a few tune-up questions, a few easy ones. I appreciate that. But we're going to tackle a few of these tonight. So, Mr. Creed, 4455, he said, I personally have a couple questions, and we may have answered a little bit of this tonight, but I'll read the questions and we'll kind of pick it up. Number one, with Galactic Command being increased, do you think it will carry over into the next expansion? The increase, obviously, Eric Musco just talked about, he's not going to do, the devs aren't going to put in another 100 extra levels, but what do you guys think about Galactic Command? Do you think that will show up again in the next expansion, or do you think they might take the opportunity to eliminate it entirely?
I think it'll stay because it helps with the casual players and the solo players who only play for the story. And I mean, regardless of why you play a game, it should cater to the entire player base.
Like, I never understood the people who are like, oh, these people that don't raid or these people that don't PvP shouldn't get top end gear. It's like, why? How does it affect you? And with this system, it's harder to do it if you're doing it solo and doing casual content, but you can still get there. It's just going to take longer than somebody hitting Nightmare raids. And yeah, I think it probably will stay. I don't think they're going to implement this deep of a system and then just scrap it in a month and a year.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening. I foresee they'll keep it and they'll keep making improvements on it like they have. Until it's a happy middle ground and everybody's happy.
I agree. Actually, and what I would like to see personally is not only they keep it, but they throw in some really cool items inside of there. Because honestly, with Galactic Command, if I earned up, say, like 10 ranks of Galactic Command, one of the cool things that happens in Guild Wars 2 is you hit certain achievements and benchmarks, and they'll open up a screen of cool gear, and they'll let you pick a piece. And if they did that with, say, like, hey, you hit every 10 ranks, maybe you get a piece of Revan Reborn's armor, or
I can see that.
armor, or something.
That'd be pretty fucking cool.
You get a token, and then you go to a vendor, and then you could trade it there at a vendor, like by the cartel area of the fleet, and say, like, hey, here's a vendor, and they sell the best of the best, items. And, if you get a token of that from CXP, you go over there, you trade it for that piece of gear. I'd be like, hell yeah! Like, yeah, I'd be grinding CXP for some of the gear that I like. Actually, I mentioned this. I didn't mention this in my last video. I wanted to, though. Most recently, they had Zoxan's armor set on sale for direct sale. And I literally blew my lid, because that was one of the things I ground very hard for in the DVL event, because that's a set I wanted, and I had said to the devs, I was like, look, if you guys put stuff up for direct sale, I'm sure people would buy it. If I didn't have that set already, I easily would have forked over any cash, like, shut up and take my money. I wanted that set so bad. I'm using that right now on, like, 10 of my different, cloth-wearing characters, at least pieces of it, like the feet and the chest and the whatever. And so I feel like ideas like that, if you're looking for ideas of maybe making Galactic Command better, if they threw stuff like that in there too, I think that just adds another layer of sugar to the mix, where it just makes it a little sweeter. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a reward. It's a reward system.
Yeah. Okay, question number 2 from same guy, Mr. Creed 4455. How do you prepare for raiding with GC being the way it is? Now, Creed, I'm gonna, because of the changes that we just saw released today, I'm gonna pose that question with what we now know is coming out for 5.2. So guys, what would your best advice be for somebody looking to gear up for raiding once 5.2 drops?
Good question.
I would say know your class. Like, know what stats your class needs. You can easily find that. You can poke around and ask people. Definitely know your class and what you need. If you're a DPS, you need 109 to 110% accuracy, and the rest of it goes between crit and alacrity. If you're a healer, it's crit and alacrity. Some healers do power, or mastery, whatever it is. And
that one stat we all use.
Guys, sorry.
What's it called? Yeah.
And know what you need for gear. So that way when you are doing story modes and hopefully gearing up for harder raids, you're getting the proper gear pieces for your toon. And a good example of this is I plugged into a story mode toss just for fun, and because I wanted to learn my operative, and there was a merc there in DPS spec wearing Demolisher gear. Now, Demolisher gear isn't that Pyrotech gear?
Pyrotech tank, yeah.
Yeah, it's Pyrotech gear. And he was off-healing me. Not off-healing the healer.
Wow.
Now, I did whisper him and try to, kind of encourage him to DPS, and I wasn't mean about it. I was like, hey, I'm doing my job. You can focus on the boss. It's not a big deal. No one's dying. And he tried to say that he knew what he was doing. And if someone is going to give you guidance and not be, obstinate about it or mean or whatever, listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. And Xenoph, how about you, man? What steps would you take?
That's honestly the best thing I could say is maybe do a few flashpoints, get a good feel for your class, get a good feel for rotation if you're a DPS.
Yeah.
Learn what your different heals do, stuff like that. And yeah, never be averse to criticism. I've been I've been raiding since late 1.0, and I still, if I find somebody that knows something that I don't, I'm like, teach me. Tell me your secret.
Yeah.
So you can never stop learning.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And my advice, guys, is watch my video that I just put together.
Yeah, that too.
about getting ready to raid. I put it together with kind of a cheesy style, but I think the basics are really there. Make sure your equipment is the best that you can get for it, because the last thing you want is connection issues, not being able to see what's happening on the screen, unresponsive keyboard or mouse or anything like that. Get all the hardware stuff out of the way, all the software stuff out of the way. Make sure you have your programs down, star parse, TeamSpeak, know how to use them, so that way on raid day you're not trying to figure it all out right then, because that just slows a raid down. And then everything that Xenoph just said, practice your rotations, put your character in danger, basically. Learn what you have to do on the fly, so that you don't have to look at your keyboard to see what you're about to push. Don't have to figure out and feel on your mouse, because I'll tell you guys, on the PTS, that's all I was doing. Jesus, I have a new mouse, I don't know what I'm touching. Stupid keyboard, what button did I just move everything around? Oh my god, I think I just switched call to a different key. What key was it? What key was it? And I'm here Zach, face this. I can't tell you guys the specifics, so I'm just not going to repeat what I just said. But that's what I was dealing with, was all the hardware crap, because I had just updated everything on my computer. And so I'm like, guys, if you really want to get ready for raid, take care of the basics, and just have fun. Put your character in some danger and have some fun, and you'll just do great. Okay.
Also, be honest.
Oh, yeah.
If you are learning new keybinds, you can tell us.
You can tell, most people will be cool with it.
Yeah.
Most people.
Yeah, and I would say, don't do what I did, which is try to learn it all at once. I had a new mouse, a new monitor. I hadn't been on in a year. Threw myself in the hardest place you possibly could around the best, most professional people I could be around, and I'm like, this is a lot to tackle. Do it in bite-sized chunks, guys. Just little bites. It's little bites that devour the elephant.
Baby steps.
Yes. Which actually is a great segue into the next question. Ren and Peter, who actually asked a lot of different questions on my on one of my previous videos. I am going to take this main one though. How do you know if you found a good raiding group? ? I thought that was actually an interesting question for our two raiders.
Good attitudes for one.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. If you get along with the people that you raid with, or you look forward to coming into raid, that's a good sign. Now, I've been in lots of raid teams, not because I've left, but because people leave and you have to keep looking and searching. And I will say the one constant that has been on my raid team is Xenoph. And
hi.
We raid together.
I call them work spouses.
I'm Penny's rock. I'm Penny's anchor.
Yeah.
Pretty much, he carries me. So enjoy the people that you're raiding with. If there's one person who annoys you, don't let that ruin your whole raid. Just brush it off. It's a raid. You're spending 3 to 6 hours with these people a week, and don't let that upset your experience.
Right.
Now, if this is good as in like good people to be with to prog, or good as in skill level, unfortunately, that's something that you have to learn. How do they react to constructive criticism? How do they take learning new strategies? How do they take gear criticism? How, it's all about how they react to a high stress situation, as well as, are they going to look to improve? A great example of this is, we have a new team in the guild. They just formed. Most of them have never seen NIM content. They have cleared all the way up to NIM Styrak and are currently progging NIM Styrak, trying to push their DPS during Chain Manifestation.
Nice.
And I am so proud of these. In 2 weeks. I'm very proud of this. And the reason why is they listen to feedback. I subbed in for them for a week and a half while they were searching for a healer. And, I just mentioned to the sniper, I was like, hey, do you know all 3 specs, which is Viru, engineering, and marksman? And he said, I'm not very good with engineering. I was like, oh, well, it's pretty good to learn all 3. Just my personal opinion. The next raid day, which was 5 days, he was practicing air engineering. He was practicing on it live in raid and pulling really good. And I was impressed. I whispered the raid lead, and I was like, I didn't even tell him to do this. I was like, did you bring it up? He said no. He took it up, and he took the initiative to learn the last spec of his class, because I told him it would be beneficial to the raid, and I just hinted at it. That right there is, in my opinion, something that is amazing. I always joke that I'm a one-trick pony. I only know how to heal. I can sort of DPS on my Merc, and I can do Lightning Sork. If I need to, in a really big pinch, if we need that little shove of DPS, or if it's just for fun, like Nim Grobthok, I will spec Arsenal and DPS. It's just doing that kind of like little things. Don't take criticism so hard. It's not meant to be negative towards you as a person. It's just meant to help you grow. And then always make sure you do your research.
Yeah, everyone can improve. That's for sure.
The attitude is the biggest thing, honestly. Like, if you get along with the people you raid with, that's going to make everything a whole lot better.
Yeah.
If there's that one person that that their voice is like nails on a chalkboard.
Zach!
I'm...
Zach, no, darling.
No.
I'll fucking both.
No, but that one person that's just, no matter what they do, it's just something about them irritates you, down to your core. I don't condone it in my raid teams. I say, lock yourselves in a room and work it out. But if it's a pug, mute them. If it's a pug, mute them. If it's prog, I recommend working it out, because you got to deal with them for 6 hours a week at minimum.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's my thing.
That's cool. I would say this, guys. If the question is, how do you know if you found a good raiding group? It's kind of the same if you found a good girlfriend or a good relationship. No one can really tell you. You just know. Balls to bone. That's a line from The Matrix, and I love that line. But here's the thing, guys. It's decide in advance what it is you're looking for, because you can go to the prom with the prettiest girl anyone's ever seen, but she doesn't dance with you at all during the night, and you just had the bragging rights to say, yeah, she came with me. I see that people do that with agents out here in LA all the time, where they're like, yeah, I'm with William Morris. I'm technically with them, but they don't actually send me on auditions. That's kind of a problem. And then I see other people who you can decide in advance, like, what is it you want out of this relationship? And I would say rating teams are the same thing. If you find a good group of people, you're having a great time, you all have a lot of laughs, you're all willing to do everything that Penny and Xenoph said, great. But if you're one of those people that says, I don't mind a little bit of abuse, if that means I get the achievement of saying I did this thing first, well then, there is a type of person out there who that's the relationship they want. They don't mind being in an abusive relationship if it means, and in California I see gold diggers. I'm sorry, it's true, but there are people out there, men and women, who are like, I don't care what the relationship looks like as long as I get this money or this thing or whatever, this thing that satisfies this need. And if that's what you want to be when it comes to rating, that's fine. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, but be prepared for that. Make that decision up in mind. What are you comfortable with? And if you're really looking for a good time, because guess what? Here's the lie a lot of people tell themselves, is that they think they have to have one or the other. I either have a group that I have a fun time with, or I have a group that is a little bit abusive and we tackle content with, and that's a lie. You can have both. You can have a group that tackles top-end content.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons I like Morons and Mayhem so much, and why I feel it's so important to kind of pitch the guild a lot, is because of that, is a lot of people think it's one or the other, and it never is.
I mean, I'll be blunt, it can definitely be both, and it should be both, but it takes a little more work than one or the other.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Same person actually asked a really good question. I'm going to try to summarize. He actually wrote a lot. I'm going to try to kind of summarize the crux of it. But he was saying talking isn't his best skill. How do you find a raid guild when you have trouble with communication? I'm assuming what he was meaning was his language.
Like the way he comes off? Like does he come off gruff? Or just really short and blunt?
No, in, I think he said, here's what he wrote. This is Ren and Peter, same guy. I'll admit I tried a veteran flashpoint when I hit level 70, and boy, I was not prepared. Me and only one other guy ended up getting the very last boss. We couldn't do it. Plus, anyone that matched to replace the people that left soon after. It's very hard to find raiding guilds he's on Beggar and Colony. He misspelled it. On Beggar and Colony, only seems to be PvP groups. It's just so intimidating to learn, especially when talking to people isn't my best skill. And so
he's sort of shy.
I would say sort of shy-ish.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell.
Or he's just not solid.
So I guess, how do you break in? Like, how do you break in?
I used to be that way.
Yeah, Group Finder, yeah.
That's Group Finder is a really good way to learn to, be a presence, but also know your stuff. Like, if you know what you're doing, you are sure that XYZ mechanic happens, and you dictate that, and even if they say, oh, no, that's not how it works, and then they wipe because of it, it's sort of a really satisfying moment, but at the same time, they'll start to listen to you more. Been there, done that.
Yeah. That's what I did on BC. I mean, me, Penny, Zach, I think we were all on BC at one point. That's what I did. I made myself that quote-unquote invaluable player.
Yeah.
That sat up, and this is going to sound really bad like a college kid, sat up all night reading strats, looking up strats, seeing how is people doing this boss? How are people doing this boss? What can you do to improve your DPS here? Or what have you? And on a server like BC, I don't know what it's like now. It's probably even worse now. But it's a very small, tight-knit community. Everyone knows everyone type deal. And if you sort of ingrain yourself as that person who, this guy knows his shit, you're going to just start getting random whispers one day, like, hey, can you come help with this? Hey, we're doing hard mode Styrac. Can you hop in and sort of help us with it, give this guy a rundown, what have you? And so reading up and doing your research, if I had to summarize in 2 points, a lot of research.
That's really good. I say this, guys. We used to go swing dancing. I love swing dancing. When I was in college, I was taking a swing dancing class, and then right down the street in Tempe, Arizona, was the Bash on Ash, which had swing dancing every Tuesday night. And I used to go over there. And there was one rule we had, which is, if you're a lady and you're there, if a guy asks you to go on the dance floor, just go. Just have a good time and just go. Let him lead. Just go. If you're a guy in the room, make sure you ask every girl, to go dance. I feel that rating's a lot the same way, and my advice is, and this is the way I found all my rating groups, was I was just the max level guy running around just having a good time. And I would maybe be in a flashpoint, maybe I'd just be running on the fleet, and somebody would say, hey, do you want to join our guild? And if I didn't know anybody, I would say, yeah, okay, sure. And then that's where the networking chain starts. You get invited into something, you decide for yourself, is this a place I like? Do I like these people? Do I like their chat? Do I like whatever they've got going on? And if not, you just, you politely say your goodbyes and you walk away. But at least it's a starting point. And a lot of times if you're just a 70 player with no guild, people will approach you about being a part of their guild. Can't speak for what kind of guild they're going to have. It's kind of up for you to find. But if you want to be with a good raiding guild, and you feel like it's hard to break in, my best advice is to start raiding and to get in there, pug everything that you possibly can, be polite, ask lots of questions, and I guarantee you they will ask you to be a part of something sooner than you having to like beg to be a part of their group. Because if you're with pugs, that's automatically people who love the stuff. They're looking to get something out of that particular run. They want to run with good people. And a lot of people don't realize that when they raid, it's a lot like an audition out in LA. No casting director wants to see a bad audition. They want to see you at your best. So go there and be your best. And if your best isn't particularly skilled, be really polite. Ask good questions. Say and compliment other people on what you think they're doing well, and you'll get invited.
Right. I will forewarn, if you're looking to sort of branch into the harder side of raiding, BC is not the place to do it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh,
BC
yeah.
Agreed.
When I left, back when they first did the 90cc transfer discount, there was a mass exodus of almost every single raider from BC came to Harbinger. If I had to recommend, I would say roll a new character on Harbinger or roll a new character on Shadowlands and try to find a raiding guild there, because those are the two servers that have a good amount of PvE going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent piece of advice.
And word of warning, mute Gen Chat on Harby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say also, BioWare does not accurately depict the volume of people on the server, or even the quote quality unquote. Berrigan Colony is marked as an RP server, which obviously, I mean, we all had our start there, so that doesn't really dictate that there aren't good people there.
True.
Us encouraging you to start on a different server or transfer, because it is still 90 CCs to transfer. If you get your monthly CCs and don't do anything else with them, by all means transfer a tune, because then you have your entire legacy.
Wait, it's only 90 CCs right now?
90 CCs.
Oh, baby, yeah.
I think going from US to EU servers is still expensive, but I could be wrong there.
Holy smokes.
I'm not sure on that one, but I am positive on the US servers it's 90 CCs. And go do what Zach said. Transfer a tune, that way you have your legacy, and then do what Zach says. Be on fleet. Be that person who pugs in. Yeah. Be kind. Be polite. Ask questions. And that's how you also get your foot in the community as well.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the next question, which is also really good. Because we've got two more questions, guys, and I thought this is a good time for this one. So, William S., here's a question I have while listening to your vid. Is SWTOR on life support? ? Thoughts?
No. They would not be coming out with new content if it was on life support.
Yeah, if they were that hurting for money or subs or whatever, I just don't see them coming out with a new operation and hyping up all this stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
Is it as populated as when it first came out?
Oh, no.
Not even close.
No.
And the reason is some people just don't stick with MMOs for years and years and years and years and years. Some people do. WoW's a thing. A lot of people have been playing WoW since it came out. And WoW also goes through these slumps where they bring out new content, rise in subs.
Yep.
Those people clear the content, subs dip down. Because people game hop. And we have seen a surge of people come in with the announcement of new content. And will it even out? Yes. I feel like those people will clear the content once it's completely released, and I feel like it'll trickle out, It won't completely disappear, because hopefully they have more content planned. Wink wink nudge nudge. And by content I mean operations, not story mode. Story missions. So I feel like it'll even out, but so many people have come back to the game. I just don't feel like it's limping along.
No.
Is it as good as it used to be? Probably back in 2.0? Probably not.
No, it is definitely not in its prime, but it is not dead by any means. And again, piggybacking off what Penny said, spoilers, guys, here comes the Son of Destiny moment. Same thing goes with Destiny. People right now are scrambling for new content. They're like, give us new stuff. We want new stuff. The sequel's coming out this year. There's not going to be new stuff. They're rehashing the old stuff. So, chances are me and my group of friends will go back for a bit. We'll do the rehash stuff again with the new levels and the new level cap and all that. And then we'll move away for a little while.
Yeah.
It's just, that's sort of the flow with some games. They'll come back, they'll do the content, they'll leave. Some people stay. We stay, for example. But that's the deal. And yeah, they're doing new stuff. Hopefully it's good. We know what's coming. Can't talk about it. But
I know, right? I was like, guys,
I want
so
to.
wish we could. I so wish we could.
But no, it is not by any means on life support, but it is definitely not in its prime.
Yeah. I would say this, man. First, we have to define what does it mean for a game to be dead? Because, oh my Lord in heaven, I swear to God, there's some people out there, I just want to nickname them Chicken Little, because they're always, the sky is falling. Oh, Star Wars is dead! Star Wars is dead! And then, every time
Viewfinder didn't pop. The game is dead.
Yeah, Viewfinder didn't insta-pop as a DPS. Game's dead.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Every time somebody puts up something on Dolphy, all you gotta do is scroll down a little bit for somebody to say, like, oh, this is another reason why the devs hate us, and this game is dead, it died at this time and place, and I know exactly what it is. And here I am sitting here going, yeah, you're still looking at a Star Wars site, trolling through the comments until you can throw out there that you feel it's dead. I'm like, obviously, you're keeping it beaten. I would say this. For me, what is the definition of a dead game? Even games like Star Wars Galaxies, they had to shut the server down for people to not play it anymore. There was old WoW servers that were privately owned. You're not really supposed to do it, but they did it. That had a previous generation of
super vanilla.
Yeah, super vanilla via WoW playing on it, and they had to shut that down and eventually have that conversation about bringing that back up. That's how invested some players can get. So, like, when we're talking about what does it mean for a game to be dead, when I think of a game that's dead, I think of games more like, what was it, Rift? Games where I can't think of anybody who plays it at all. Like, not just within my circle, but, where it kind of flashed and it's gone. Or when I think of gaming communities, I love the game Watch Dogs. Love it. But as soon as Watch Dogs 2 came out, why even bother with the first one? And there's a whole PvP element in there, and those people all dried up because they moved to the second game. Like, when I think of a dead game, I have to think of it as something that people just do not play anymore. And Star Wars, that's not the case. There's people who log in every single day. They're very passionate about it. If you don't believe me, look at the Twitter feed for when Musco posted up 100 command ranks, and just look at how that blew up. Trust me.
I'm sure it was a riot.
Yeah, oh my God. Let's just say people were less than kind. And I'll leave it at that. But you don't get that kind of passion unless people are still really invested, and really care about the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like before we could talk about is like Star Wars on life support, I don't think so. Is it the same size it was when it started? Penny and Xenoff really covered that really well. It isn't, obviously. But there is still a really dedicated fan base, and there's still it's one of the few games that still uses a sub model and still can use a sub model. Because there is still enough subs in there. Obviously, they have a lot of extra, income coming in from the cartel market and such. But yeah. So yeah, is SWTOR on life support? I would say no. I think it's still a game that's still pretty going strong. Is it as popular as some of the other games out there? I'm not sure. I do feel Star Wars is kind of a niche universe, but it is still going strong. Which brings us to the last question we're going to talk to tonight, and this is back to Mr. Creed 4455. He had a really good question, and we're going to have to not talk about anything we saw on the PTS. And we're going to have to put our imagination caps on, because the question is: do you believe that the next expansion will be another story-based one, while sidelining other forms of content such as Galactic Starfighter, Flashpoints, and PvP? That's an excellent question. What do you guys think will be the meat of the next expansion?
I mean, I really hope it's another operation-based story, much like DF and DP.
Oh yeah.
To me, it depends what you consider expansion.
Oh yeah, good point.
What do you consider an expansion? Are you saying like new daily area, new, I don't know, maybe new Warzone, maybe what have you? What is an expansion? If you say 6.0, they've already said the business model going forward is going to be take a year, do group content for a year, and then they'll come out with story stuff. But as far as what the next quote-unquote update will be, like 5.2, 5.3, what have you, new stuff.
Yeah.
I can't say much more. New stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful. I think it will be some story, but I think there's going to be other good stuff there too.
Yeah. I with the last 2 years having so much story, I don't think they're going to do another story expansion for a little bit. But yeah, like Xenoff and Penny both said, I think let's define expansion, because CZ198 technically was an expansion, and that was a new area with questing hubs, and it had its own little flashpointy stuff in there, and it was kind of cool. Same thing with Oricon when that first came out. So, and those were technically like mini expansions, I guess. So
yes, they were.
In my brain, that is what I think of as when I think of the next quote-unquote expansion. I do think of an X-Pack usually being something bigger, like a 6.0 or a 7.0. Like that's when I first think expansion, that's usually what I think of. But I think in the short term, the little itty-bitty like decimal number terms, I think what we will see is more group content and PvP content. I think they're really going to blow up with Iocath, and this like has nothing to do with anything we've seen on PTS. This is all speculation, thankfully. But I would imagine, because of what they've already said with the war on Iocath being 5.2, I think the 5.2 dot whatever decimals are going to be miniature little expansions based off of Iocath. I think we're probably going to end up with a questing area hub, which would be kind of fun, kind of like CZ198 or Oricon. I think we may end up with maybe a couple flashpoints to do with that too, because let's face it, guys, there's a lot of names in the Zodiac that they have yet to use, and I would love to take on I think what would they do in the current extension? Was it Aries? So we have Aries, Gemini, Scorpio. I would love to see like what they would do with something like a Pisces or you know, and just whatever. Like give us a Sagittarius, have some fun. What does that mean to you? And whatever. Or Gemini. They already have Gemini, but you get my drift. But as far as like the next major expansion, I don't see that coming for a while. I think that they did Fallen Empire and Eternal Throne so back to back that I really think the next expansion, I don't know where they could go with the story, honestly. I feel like it got so big that the only thing you could do is pull a Resident Evil 7 and try to go small.
I don't know how they would even do that, though. Unless somehow you're overthrown from, spoiler alert, overthrown from leading the Eternal Empire.
Yeah. My thoughts, something I always wanted to see, and I've talked about this in other shows, was that I really wanted a X-Pack that kind of got things back to basics, where I called it the Nemesis module, where, I always felt that guys like the Jedi Knight and the Emperor's Wrath should have been destined to meet on the field of combat at some point. These were just two guys who needed to battle each other. Same thing with the Gunslinger and the Bounty Hunter. The immovable object versus the unstoppable force. The guy who can never be caught versus the guy who catches everybody. I felt like these matchups naturally happen between the 8 different character classes, and I kind of wanted to see an X-Pack based around that, and it would have been a PvP type X-Pack, where
that would be really nice.
Bounty hunting week, instead of going after some random guy on a planet, you go after another player who signed up for it. You know what I'm saying?
I've wanted that since beta.
Yeah,
I love player hunting.
Where basically, and you're after the Nemesis. So if you click a button and say like, I want to be a part of Nemesis this week, then somewhere along the galaxy, some guy gets your number, and now you guys are chasing each other from planet to planet, and or they match you up on some planet, and you're going PvP head to head. Or something like that, and I liked the idea of it, especially if there could be a story element too, where you finally have the Jedi Knight finally meet the Emperor's Wrath and have it out, and it's the actual guy who took out the Emperor versus the guy who became his Wrath. You know what I'm saying? Those voice actors and the works, story wise, and just see what that conflict would look like, because I kind of feel that with Eternal Throne ending the way it did, I feel like that's Conan. When Conan ascends to the throne, that's the end of Conan's story. And I don't feel like that's a good place story-wise to keep things moving. I understand why they did it, to kind of merge all 8 story classes. But it makes it very difficult to write the next expansion, because it's like, what do you tackle next? You just tackled an entire empire, a whole section of space that didn't even exist. The only thing I could think of, and this is, again, just my opinion, and BioWare, if you're listening, I want credit if you steal this idea. But the only thing I can think of is that, the Empire, the Sith Empire, and the Republic go to war, because now if the fleet is gone, that's the main power and backbone of the Eternal Throne, and they rip it apart. They rip it in 2. They each claim half, and now the 2 new classes would be the droid class, basically like renegade HK units that you could customize, and Xenomorphs, the great Jedi, the leftover Zakulian knights who weren't really one side or the other. Now you get to pick which faction you work for, and instead of having like the Eternal Empire, it's now been bifurcated, and you as the former leader are being hunted by both parties, and you're kind of getting in touch with all your old contacts and figuring out your power base and like how to get through it. And hopefully by the end of that story, you're kind of reacquainting yourself with either like the Jedi or rebuilding the Jedi Knights, or rebuilding the Sith.
In the first 5.2 stream, I think they mentioned something along those lines with Iokath. That if you go back, I think it's the very first stream when they announced the new operation and the BTS.
It's the fight for Iokath.
Yeah. You actually in there, you are sort of doing that. Sort of backing one side or the other, but not to the extent that you are talking about. But it looks like it's a start, maybe?
Yeah. Because, my thought on an expansion is, too, when in doubt, go back to canon. And we know that when the Old Republic, when we first see things with, the Phantom Menace, I didn't like the movie, but when you first get back there, there's really no such thing as an Eternal Empire. So, in my brain, it has to fall at some point and become part of the Old Republic, like what we think of as the Old Republic by that point. And so that would mean eventually it either had to get torn apart, and part of it went to the Sith, and part of it went to the Old Republic, and eventually the Old Republic won and then becomes the Empire, because the Empire are sneaky. And but that's my thought on it. Is like I don't think you can go any bigger at this point. I think now you have to try to go smaller, and possibly back into the 8 individual character classes. Yeah. Okay, but that's the last question I had for this particular episode, and boy did we go over. So everybody who's listening, thank you guys so much. I hope we answered some of your questions about the new gearing changes that are coming up for 5.2. And if you have questions that you want us to answer on this show, send them to us. We love it. We love shooting shit about Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's a game we all love, and your questions make our show better. If you guys are interested in rating in 5.2, I highly recommend heading over to the Harbinger and saying hi to the folks at Morons and Mayhem, who are an excellent rating guild and are currently testing in the PTS. So these guys know their stuff. Anyway, as always, I am Zach, and this is Penny and Xenoff, and this was Real Talk with Real Gamers, and we'll see you next time.